God will turn their evil against them and make it their own destruction. There is a silent law written into the fabric of reality. No act, whether in light or darkness, escapes its return. People often believe they can manipulate, lie, or harm without facing consequences, as if their deeds can disappear into the chaos of life unnoticed. But life is not blind, and it is not indifferent. Every action is a seed planted, and in time, every seed bears fruit, bitter or sweet, depending on its nature. Those who choose evil walk a dangerous path, even if it does not seem so in the beginning. They may enjoy a moment of triumph. They may deceive others and themselves into thinking they have escaped justice. But there is a truth that stands firm. Evil is not a tool one can control. Once unleashed, it grows wild, twists, and often consumes the very person who tried to wield it. When someone hurts you unjustly, it feels, at first, like they have won. They walk away without apology. They carry no visible wounds. But what you must understand is that they have already planted their own destruction. In the economy of the moral universe, no wrong is ever truly profitable. What they did to harm you sets forces into motion that will in time turn back on them with greater weight than they ever expected. This is not because you curse them, it is not because you wish them harm, it is simply because life itself, by its very structure, refuses to sustain what is built on corruption. Everything that grows from a poisoned root will eventually wither and collapse under its own diseased weight. Patience is the hard lesson here. There is a temptation to seek revenge, to want immediate justice, to make them feel what they made you feel. But true justice does not sprint toward its conclusion. It moves quietly, steadily, and when it arrives, it is thorough. You do not need to destroy those who tried to destroy you. They are already carrying the seeds of their own collapse within them. Understand this: the harm they directed at you changes them far more than it changes you. It warps their character. It bends their soul. Every time they justify their wrongdoing, they take another step away from light and closer to a life hollowed out by their own choices. You may suffer for a season, but they are setting themselves up for a lifetime of invisible decay. There is a reason why those who live by deception eventually cannot trust anyone. There is a reason why those who betray are eventually consumed by loneliness and paranoia. They built their house on lies, and in time, the walls they built to trap others become the prison that traps them. It is important not to lose faith when you do not see immediate results. The world often appears unjust in the short term. The wicked prosper, the cruel rise. But all of it is temporary, like a structure built on sand. It may look impressive for a moment, but when the pressure comes, when life demands something real, it will crumble, often in spectacular fashion. There is a kind of justice at work that does not require your hands. It is far more complete than anything you could orchestrate. Life arranges circumstances so that people encounter the very consequences they tried to avoid. They betray and they find themselves betrayed. They lie and they are surrounded by lies they can no longer untangle. They hurt others and they find themselves living in a world where trust and love become unreachable. And you, the one who endured the betrayal, the mockery, the abandonment, you rise not by destroying them, but by refusing to become like them. Your victory is in your integrity. Your triumph is in your healing. Your success is in the fact that you can still love, still trust, still build, even after what was done to you. One of the greatest acts of courage is to keep your heart soft in a world that tried to harden it. Your refusal to retaliate in bitterness is not weakness, it is strength in its purest form. The very existence of your peace is a silent testimony against their actions. It is a reminder that evil can wound, but it cannot win unless you allow it to change who you are. There is a deeper story being written about your life, and it is not a story of defeat. It is a story of refinement, of resilience, of strength born in suffering. The pain they caused did not end you. It revealed you. It showed you what you are made of. It pulled from within you a strength you did not know you had. Meanwhile, those who built their lives on selfishness and cruelty will find their foundations cracking. They will struggle to understand why their happiness feels hollow, why their victories taste bitter. It will not be because you sought to punish them. It will be because evil, by its very nature, turns inward and devours its own. So hold your ground. Stay true to who you are. Trust that you do not need to chase justice. You are already walking in its shadow. Sooner or later, life will hand them exactly what they earned, and you will stand not because you fought them, but because you refused to fall with them. This is the certainty you can rest in. Their evil is not your burden. Their destruction will not be your doing, and their downfall, when it comes, will be complete, because it will have been made by their own hands. Evil is a boomerang, not a bullet. When someone commits an act of evil, they often imagine it to be like firing a bullet, fast, clean, and final. They believe they can direct the damage outward, away from themselves, and walk away untouched. They assume the harm they inflicted travels only one direction, landing in the heart of their victim and never returning. But that belief is a lie. In reality, evil behaves far less like a bullet and far more like a boomerang. What they send out does not vanish. It circles back, often with more force than they can handle. Those who choose cruelty think they are the architects of pain for others. In truth, they are unknowingly designing the blueprint of their own suffering. Every word spoken in malice, every betrayal carefully planned, every lie crafted to wound, all of it binds itself to them. It becomes part of the very fabric of their own destiny. They cannot simply walk away from what they have launched into the world. Life is too intricate, too deeply interconnected to allow it. At first, the effects are invisible. They may even experience a sense of triumph. The person they harmed is reeling. They appear strong, confident, even victorious. But what they fail to realize is that the consequences they triggered are already in motion, gathering weight and speed in places they cannot see. They have set something loose that will, inevitably, find its way back into their own lives. And by the time it returns, it is far too powerful to avoid. There is a particular tragedy to this process. Evil is not a rational servant. It does not distinguish between friend and enemy. It does not obey its master's intentions. Once set free, it grows wild, gathering chaos in every place it passes through. It contaminates relationships, rots ambitions from within, and twists the mind of the very person who thought they could wield it without cost. They become prisoners of the darkness they unleashed. You see this truth play out everywhere. The liar becomes trapped in their own web of deceit, unable to remember what they said to whom. The betrayer becomes a cynic, unable to trust anyone, haunted by the suspicion that others are plotting the same betrayal against them. The manipulator, once so confident in their games, finds themselves entangled in confusion and isolation. Every tactic they used against others now turns inward, like a weapon turned by unseen hands. It's the most dangerous illusion evil offers is the promise of immunity. It whispers, "You are different. You will not suffer the fate of others. You are too clever, too powerful." And it is this lie that blinds people to the inevitable outcome. They fail to see that evil does not respect intelligence or ambition. It does not reward those who wield it skillfully. It consumes all who associate with it, regardless of their intentions or their supposed control. For those who have been harmed, this can be a difficult reality to trust. When you are in the depth of betrayal or injustice, it often looks like the wrongdoer is winning. They seem to thrive. They seem untouched. But patience reveals a different story. Over time, the weight of their choices begins to show. It corrodes their peace. It dismantles their sense of self. It invites chaos into their most guarded spaces. It is important to remember, you are not called to speed up this process. You are not responsible for ensuring that their evil returns to them. That is not your burden to carry. The system of life, call it justice, call it God, call it the deep moral structure of reality, is already handling it with a precision far greater than anything you could arrange. Your responsibility is to heal, to rebuild, and to keep your heart free from the contamination they tried to spread. There is no need to interfere, no need to plot or hope for their downfall. Time and truth are relentless. The boomerang is already in flight, already curving back toward its origin. It will arrive when they least expect it, and it will carry with it all the weight of what they thought they escaped. Meanwhile, you must live differently. You must resist the urge to become what hurt you. You must walk forward with clarity and integrity, knowing that real strength is shown not in vengeance, but in resilience. Every day you continue to build an honest life. Every day you refuse to replicate the evil done to you. You widen the distance between yourself and the collapse that is coming for them. Their story will be one of decay from within. It will not be the blow from another person that undoes them. It will be their own actions, their own choices, returning with perfect aim. What they threw into the world will not strike where they intended, but it will strike exactly where it belongs, back into their own lives. And you, standing on the far side of it, will understand something essential. Justice was never in your hands. It was always moving quietly beneath the surface, taking the long way home. Evil is never a clean shot. It is a curse that circles back. It is a boomerang, not a bullet, and it never misses its true target. Suffering refines the innocent, but consumes the corrupt. Suffering is an undeniable part of life. It comes in many forms. The pain of betrayal, the ache of loss, the quiet devastation of unspoken wounds. No one is immune to it. It is a universal experience, but what sets people apart is how they respond to it. For some, suffering becomes a tool of growth, a crucible that refines their character and sharpens their resolve. For others, it is the force that unravels them, the weight that drags them down until they are lost to the very thing they once believed they could control. The difference between these two outcomes, refinement and destruction, lies in the nature of the person experiencing the suffering. The innocent, the ones who walk with integrity, may find that suffering reveals their inner strength, their capacity for resilience, and their ability to endure despite the storms they face. They do not become bitter or consumed by the pain. Instead, they use it as a forge to transform themselves to become even stronger, more compassionate, and more aware of the deeper truths of life. In contrast, those who are corrupt, whose hearts are twisted by greed, deceit, or cruelty, find that suffering does not refine them, it overwhelms them. It consumes them from the inside out. It chips away at their soul, corroding the very foundation upon which their lives are built. The pain they endure is not transformative. It does not push them toward growth or wisdom. Instead, it exposes the rot within them, amplifying their flaws and magnifying their weaknesses. The more they suffer, the more they are revealed for what they truly are, and in the end, their suffering becomes their undoing. It is essential to understand that suffering itself is not inherently good or bad. It is a neutral force, like fire, capable of both destruction and purification. How it affects a person depends entirely on their inner nature, their willingness to confront the pain and learn from it. The innocent person, who remains true to their values and beliefs, will find that suffering opens their eyes to the depths of their own character. It will show them how much they are capable of enduring, how much love they still have to give, and how much strength they can summon when life tries to break them. This transformation is not instantaneous. It requires time, patience, and a willingness to accept the pain without allowing it to define them. There is no denying that the innocent will feel the weight of their suffering deeply. It will challenge their sense of identity, shake their confidence, and test their faith. But in this crucible, they are forged into something more solid, more enduring. They come out the other side wiser, more empathetic, and more in touch with their own humanity. On the other hand, the corrupt person will react differently to suffering. Their first instinct is often to avoid it, deny it, or shift the blame onto others. They will see suffering as an enemy to be conquered rather than a lesson to be learned. When they face hardship, their natural response is not to grow, but to lash out, to protect their fragile ego, and to bury their mistakes beneath layers of denial and deceit. The pain they feel does not refine them. It hardens them in ways that they cannot even begin to understand. It deepens their bitterness and resentment, making them more entrenched in their corruption. What makes this cycle particularly tragic is that the suffering of the corrupt person is often self-inflicted. They may have caused harm to others in pursuit of their own selfish desires, and now they find that the very forces they sought to control have turned against them. The more they try to manipulate and deceive, the more they sink deeper into their own suffering. The lies they tell only become more tangled, the betrayals they commit more complicated, until they are trapped in a web of their own making. Eventually, the suffering they experience becomes a mirror, reflecting all the darkness and flaws they have accumulated over time. Rather than serving as a path to redemption, it reveals their soul's corrosion. The very things they thought would give them power, wealth, control, dominance, now seem hollow and meaningless in the face of their suffering. The more they struggle, the more they are consumed by it. And in the end, their suffering does not lead to growth, but to their ultimate destruction. It is important to remember that this contrast between the innocent and the corrupt is not about fairness. Life is not always fair, and suffering does not discriminate. Both the good and the bad will experience pain, loss, and hardship. But the difference lies in how they face it. The innocent are not immune to suffering, but they have the strength to face it with dignity, to learn from it, and to grow stronger. The corrupt, on the other hand, use suffering as a weapon against themselves, sinking deeper into despair and darkness. So what is the lesson here? It is this: the way you respond to suffering will determine who you become. It will either refine you or destroy you, and the choice is yours. if you choose to embrace the pain and learn from it, if you choose to hold on to your integrity and your values, you will emerge from the fire stronger than you ever imagined. But if you allow suffering to break you, to lead you into bitterness and resentment, you will find that it consumes you in the end. Remember, the innocent are not defined by their suffering, they are defined by how they rise from it. And the corrupt, though they may seem powerful for a time, will ultimately be undone by the very forces they tried to control. Suffering will expose the truth of who they are, and in the end, that truth will be their undoing. The truth you stand for will always outlast their lies. In a world where lies often seem to hold power, where deceit and manipulation can sometimes appear to triumph, it is easy to feel as though truth is a fleeting thing. It can seem like the falsehoods people tell are stronger, more resilient, able to endure, where truth seems fragile, exposed, and vulnerable. But this perception is deeply misleading. The reality is far different. Lies may rise quickly, but they are never meant to last. Truth, on the other hand, though it may take longer to emerge, has an unshakable foundation that will always outlast the web of deception. Lies are by their very nature fragile. They are constructed out of flimsy material, relying on half-truths, misdirection, and manipulation. The problem with lies is that they cannot stand alone. They require constant maintenance, constant reinforcement. The liar must keep feeding them with more lies, creating an increasingly complicated network of deception that can only survive as long as it is kept hidden in the shadows. As exposed, however, the entire structure collapses under its own weight. Lies are always vulnerable because they are not built on a foundation of reality. This is why truth, though often delayed, has an enduring power that lies cannot match. Truth is grounded in reality, in what is consistent, reliable, and undeniable. It does not need to be constantly fed or protected. Once it is revealed, it stands firm, unaffected by the shifting winds of opinion or the tactics of those who wish to obscure it. It may take time for truth to be revealed, especially in a world where lies can spread quickly and easily, but when it does emerge, it is unshakable. For those who hold to the truth, this is a powerful assurance. The lies of others may be loud, they may be pervasive, but they cannot last. Eventually, the truth will rise to the surface. The very nature of reality ensures that deception will eventually be uncovered. The liars may think they are invincible, that their falsehoods will carry them through, but this is an illusion. In the end, the truth will always outlast the lies they have told. One of the most painful aspects of living in a world full of deception is the feeling of helplessness. When someone lies about you, when they spread falsehoods to discredit your character or destroy your reputation, it can feel as though the lies are winning. You may feel as though the truth is powerless in the face of such manipulation. But this is where the power of truth is most evident. Lies may seem to succeed in the short term, but truth has a far-reaching, long-term effect that cannot be denied. Truth has the ability to break through even the thickest layers of deception. It may take time, but truth is persistent. It does not fade with the changing winds of public opinion. It is not subject to the whims of those who would try to twist it. Truth endures because it is based on reality, and reality, no matter how much people try to deny it, is unchangeable. The liar, on the other hand, must constantly adjust, constantly shift, constantly invent new falsehoods to keep the lie intact. This is the fundamental difference between truth and lies. Truth does not require maintenance. It is self-sustaining. For those who have experienced the sting of betrayal or the pain of someone spreading lies about them, it is important to remember this principle. It may feel as though the lies are winning, It may feel as though the deceit is overpowering, but this is the illusion created by those who rely on falsehoods to maintain their power. The truth you stand for is more powerful than anything they can construct. The lies they tell will eventually be exposed, and when that happens, they will be left with nothing but the wreckage of their own deceit. There is also a sense of moral clarity that comes from standing with the truth. Lies cloud judgment, distort perceptions, and create confusion. They force you to act in ways that are not aligned with your values, pulling you away from the person you know yourself to be. But truth, on the other hand, provides clarity. It may not always be easy to face the truth, but when you do, it aligns you with your deepest values and your authentic self. You can walk with confidence, knowing that what you stand for is rooted in something real, something that will not fade when the winds of deceit blow against you. It is easy to get lost in the noise of lies and manipulation, to feel as though the falsehoods around you will never stop. But the truth, like water, will eventually find its way through even the most solid obstacles. The lies may rise quickly, but truth has the power to wear away at them over time, eroding them until they are no longer able to stand. And once the truth is revealed, once the lies have been exposed for what they are, they lose all power. The truth will always outlast the lies because it is stronger, more enduring, and more deeply connected to the reality that cannot be denied. So, when you find yourself standing against the tide of lies, remember this: the truth you stand for is not something fragile. It is not something that can be swept away by falsehoods or manipulation. It is the unshakable foundation that will eventually break through all the lies, no matter how deeply they are embedded. Your truth may not be immediately recognized, but it will outlast the falsehoods of those who seek to tear you down. The lies will crumble and the truth will stand, because the truth, unlike the lie, is built on something far more lasting, the strength of reality itself. They will fall, not because of you, but because of who they chose to be. It's easy to believe that the downfall of those who have wronged us is somehow connected to our actions. We may feel that we are the cause of their failure, that our pain or the consequences we've endured are the driving force behind their collapse. But the truth is far more profound than that. The downfall of those who betray, manipulate, or harm others is not a result of revenge or punishment at the hands of their victim. It is a natural consequence of who they chose to be, of the choices they made and the path they walked. They will fall not because of you, but because of who they became in the process of their decisions. Every action we take, every choice we make, sets the foundation for our future. We are all responsible for the lives we create, the relationships we build, and the character we develop. Those who choose to act with deceit, cruelty, and manipulation, even when it appears they are getting away with it, are building a house of cards. The higher they build it, the more unstable it becomes. They may enjoy the illusion of power and control for a time, but deep down, they are constructing their own downfall. In the beginning, it might seem like they are thriving. They may walk through life leaving a trail of broken promises, unfulfilled obligations, and harmed people, thinking that they can avoid the consequences of their actions. It can feel as though the world is blind to the wrong they are committing, that no one sees their deceit or the damage they are causing. But this is the illusion of power that comes with dishonest living. It is temporary. The false structures they have built around themselves will eventually collapse, because they are not grounded in truth, integrity, or respect for others. What is critical to understand is that the downfall of these individuals is inevitable, not because you have done anything to cause it, but because their actions have set in motion a chain of events that will inevitably catch up with them. Every lie they tell, every betrayal they commit, every time they take advantage of others for their own gain, they weaken the foundation of their own character. This erosion is silent and slow, but it is relentless. No one can outrun the consequences of their choices forever. The corrupt and deceitful may think that their actions are hidden, that they can manipulate situations and people without being exposed. They may deceive themselves into believing that they are invincible, untouchable, or that their wrongdoings will never come back to haunt them. But time reveals the truth. What is done in the dark will eventually be brought to the light. And when that truth emerges, it doesn't matter how carefully they tried to cover their tracks or how much power they wielded to protect their reputation, the truth will always expose the reality of who they are. But the real tragedy lies in the fact that they have chosen this path for themselves. Their downfall is not a random occurrence, nor is it a consequence of others' actions. It is a direct result of the person they decided to become. They chose deceit over honesty, manipulation over sincerity, and selfishness over empathy. They actively created the conditions for their own destruction. They didn't fall because someone pushed them, but because they were already headed down a path that could only lead to one end, their own undoing. The key here is to understand that their downfall is not a reflection of your power or influence over them. It is a consequence of their own choices, a result of their own actions and the decisions they made about who they would be in this world. You, as a person who has endured their betrayal or harm, are not the architect of their failure. They are. Their inability to act with integrity, their willingness to hurt others for personal gain, and their refusal to confront their own flaws are the forces that will eventually tear them down. This realization is incredibly freeing. When you truly understand that their fall is inevitable and not something you have orchestrated, it frees you from the burden of revenge or bitterness. You no longer need to carry the weight of wishing for their downfall, because you know that life, justice, and time are already working to correct the imbalance. The universe has a way of balancing itself, and those who sow discord and destruction will one day face the consequences of what they have done. Moreover, this truth enables you to focus on your own growth and healing. You are not defined by their actions, nor do you need to be consumed by thoughts of their fate. While they may be entangled in their own lies and deceit, you can choose a different path. You can focus on building the life you want to live, on nurturing the relationships that matter, and on creating a future based on honesty and integrity. You can let go of the hold their actions have had on your heart and mind, knowing that their own choices will be their downfall. Ultimately, their fall is a result of their own self-destructive behavior. They chose to betray trust, to manipulate others, to act out of greed, envy, or fear, and now they must face the consequences of these choices. The best thing you can do is to remain true to yourself, to keep walking the path of integrity, and to trust that the universe has a way of balancing what is out of alignment. You don't need to lift a finger to bring them down. Their own actions will do that for them. The truth of who they are will come to light, and when it does, they will be left to face the reality of their choices, all alone. And in that moment, they will finally understand that their fall was never about you, it was always about them.